Thank you. Hello, everyone. So grateful to be here, so moved by your words. We're so proud and happy and grateful to have you as an ally in this fight. As you've said, this is the time for a sea change. This is the time for a cultural shift. Basically, this has been the way it has always been for women. There has always been a power dynamic, a patriarchal abuse of women through many means, but largely sexual. And we may be on the cusp of the change that changes it forever for all the daughters to come, for all the future generations. They may not have to worry about these things that we have endured our entire lives, as did our mothers, as did our grandmothers, as did our ancestors way back to the Neanderthal age. So I am thrilled to see thought and passion turning into action. I've always said as an advocate, because I've been advocating for a long time, both on women's rights and human trafficking with the United Nations for UNODC, that awareness without action is hollow, it's nothing. So I urge the legislature to pass these bills, because this takes us that next step into trying to change things on the ground. And let me be clear, it's not only for women. Men are rape and sexual harassment victims too. Non-binary people are victims. This is not a gender-specific thing, although disproportionately it does affect women. All races, all religions, all sexual preferences, gender identities, they are all subject to victimhood due to sexual predation and harassment. Firstly, I'd like to talk to you about the severe or pervasive law. In California last year, we had a big legal victory. I was working on this with equal rights advocates, and we got a law passed that did effectively what you want to do here, which got rid of that qualification on the law, which makes it so hard to win in court to actually even bring a case, because a judge will deem that the situation was not severe or pervasive enough, and therefore it can't even be tried. It just stops dead in the water right there. And the example in California that we used was why the law had the practice had the moniker the one grope law, or the one grope practice. Basically, it was a case in which a 911 emergency hotline worker was on duty, taking a call, actively speaking to someone in distress, when her coworker came up behind her and put his hands under her shirt and squeezed her breasts. And she reported it, and the judge deemed it not severe or pervasive enough. Now, meanwhile, he eventually was criminally charged for battery and did time for assault on the criminal side, but on the civil side, there was no justice to be had because that was not deemed severe or pervasive enough. Likewise, if a man decided to expose himself to a female coworker, to take off his clothes and stand there naked, if he only did it once, or maybe just once in a while, sporadically, that's not severe or pervasive enough. I think that standard is ridiculous. And I also want you all to understand that sexual harassment is the gateway drug for predators. So if a person is able to get away with sexual harassment, it's a testing ground. It's a way for people in power to test the boundaries of what the people working with them or for them can endure. And if they accept the harassment because they are in fear for their job, in fear for their livelihood, in fear either of not getting a promotion or being fired outright. And if you look at the effects of that on a regular American worker, that could be the difference between survival and being homeless in 3 months. If you lose your paycheck and do not get another job because you have refused your boss's advances or someone else in your work environment's advances, you could be homeless. You could not be able to feed your kids. You could lose your home. So these are very, very pressing concerns. Sexual harassment is not a light thing, and it is the gateway drug to worse sexual predation, including coerced relationships, assault, and rape. Okay. Secondly, let's talk about the statute of limitations. So you understand, second-degree rape is rape where consent is impossible. For example, the victim is drugged or unable to give consent, or drunk past the point of consent. Third degree is a rape in which there is no consent. And I can tell you I have, this whole Me Too thing has been wonderful, but it's been highly traumatizing for me on a personal level, just because I have had to revisit my past and my demons in a way that I really had not fully explored. I had not really dealt with past traumas. I had not really sought out the help I needed. So this past year and a half has been a very interesting and hard and wonderful time for me. But I can stand here before you and say, not only was I a sexual harassment and battery victim at the hands of Mr. Weinstein, but sexual harassment and battery, but I'm also a sexual assault victim, and I'm also a survivor of date rape. So, and I've never said that in public, and I do not want to go into detail, but I have never said that last part ever in public, because it is impossible sometimes to share these sort of things, and I'm doing it here to try and help, because there are all these survivors out there right now who need justice, who need to feel that they can take the time they need to sort through the trauma, to sort through the shame, because I can tell you, in situations of second-degree rape, which is what mine would constitute, you feel shame. You feel like somehow it was your fault, that you should have been smarter, you should have protected yourself better, you should have not taken that drink, who knows what was in it, but like that you somehow got yourself into this situation. And growing up, as I did, in a Christian home with a very strong, almost fundamentalist mother and a patriarchal Italian family, there is still a shame to anything sexual being public. So you don't want to air your dirty laundry to other people, even if it was forced upon you. Even if it was not your fault, really, and you finally come to understand that you don't really want people to know that about you. So I am arguing here that please, 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 lawmakers, do your duty to reinstitute justice here and to prevent people from committing further rapes, because most rapists will rape again. So if someone has committed a date rape, if someone has forced themselves on someone in a coerced sexual situation where maybe he didn't use physical force, but he used all kinds of other psychological weapons, that person's not going to stop acting like that. That's not a one-time kind of behavior. It's a serious problem that will continue if not checked. So if you impose this 5-year limit, which is one of the shortest in the country, the worst is North Dakota, but we're one of the shortest in the country, and for a liberal state such as New York, that's a kind of a shame. A progressive state, I should say, then you are cutting off the time in which a person could finally have the courage and the wherewithal to come forward and name his or her attacker and try and get justice for that, and then that person gets put away, hopefully. Right now, an appallingly small number of rapes are actually prosecuted and convicted. 7 out of 1,000 rapes are prosecuted, 6 receive conviction, and 5 jail time. Out of 1,000, these are national statistics. So that's how terrible the problem is right now. And when people worry about false reporting, rape and other sexual crimes have the same ratio of false reporting as any other major crime. It's a very small percentage. It's under 6%. So most of the time, when a person does the impossible psychologically, come forward and bare her soul or his soul and say, this happened to me and I want to achieve justice and I want to see this person punished, it is true. So believe survivors. Anyway, please, everyone, if you can find it in your heart, I know that there are groups that don't believe in any extension of statute of limitations, but in this case, it is extremely important for all the past victims, present survivors, and future would-be victims. Let's prevent this. Let's stop the triage and start changing the landscape now to say that time is up for sexual assault, sexual battery, sexual harassment, and rape. Time is truly up. Thank you.
Ms. Sorvino, I've been in this room many, many times on many issues. I don't think I've ever heard a more intelligent, powerful, persuasive point than you just made, and God bless you for being so brave and courageous. Let's give Ms. Sorvino a round of applause.